I'm sorry. We were just looking at the standings, the rankings of passing. The teams at the bottom in the league in passes, fewest passes. Houston, solid team, right?
Yes, playoff team.
Cleveland, championship contender.
Right.
Detroit,
another playoff team as of right now.
Then there's Dallas, they're scuffling. Clippers, they're in the mix. Celtics,
pretty good team.
Thunder,
champs, very good team.
So that's the bottom, Whitey. So this ball movement narrative and that, the ball sticking and all this and all the great teams, they're not swinging it around like that, throwing it around.
The great teams are right now getting it to their best players a lot.
And the best players make the decision.
Yeah. I think that, you just asked the question. I think it's a really good question. Why is everyone down on Debo? Why is everyone down on the ball sticking? Well, on the one hand, sometimes the offense just isn't functioning and then you look for problems. But there's this notion that, and it took me a long time to come to terms with this. If the ball's not moving, if they're not sharing the ball, then someone's being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And if the best player on the team is taking the majority of the shots because it gives the team the best chance to score, that's not selfish. That's just the smartest play.
Right. Exactly. And I will say this. When it comes to DeMar and, these recent games, there are specific matchups the Kings have been targeting. Not necessarily yesterday because I wasn't in the film session, but out there against the Clippers, James Harden, we're going to go at him. We're going to target him. Jamal Murray, we're going to target him.
The Clippers are way down on the list, right?
In terms of passing, yeah.
James Harden, because he has a ball.
Exactly. Clippers, fifth fewest passes in the league. Celtics, sixth fewest. OKC, seventh fewest. But I think when you look at DeMar, he sees an advantage. And it's not just him. It's the scouting report against Denver. Go at Jamal Murray. So when the switch comes and Jamal Murray's on, whether it's DeMar, Zach, or whoever, they're attacking that guy. Now, the results might not always be there, but I feel like this narrative about, the ball sticking and DeMar not passing and everything is results-based. Nobody's saying that when he's making the shots, we're not bringing that up. It's when we miss or when we lose, it's like, all right, let me look. Oh, yeah, DeMar got it. But we just said the best teams in the league don't pass the ball a whole lot.
Yeah. To me, the tricky part is this. When Mike Brown was here, the offense was based at least somewhat on what the Warriors did. So, and Mike Brown's not here anymore. And so the personnel that you have now, especially with Zach LaVine and DeRozan, they're not necessarily guys that are best fitted for that. So it's one of these things that on the fly, the Kings are trying to adjust to. And if as a fan, you're looking at, wow, they used to throw more passes. Now they're not. That seems like, oh, well, that's the problem. But it's actually just the roster's trending more in that other direction. It doesn't mean it's bad or they're not doing what they're supposed to do. It's just a different offensive approach, which, again, is tough to implement in the middle of the season.
Exactly. It's definitely a different offensive approach. And we saw it even with Mike, them starting to tinker a little bit, take the ball out of Domas's hands as much, not as much. And so I just feel like, it's frustrating to see this team, lose the last couple of games, 3 out of the last 4, be in 9th place. But the reality is they're trying to fix this on the fly. And it's not even just player change. It's a coaching. It's a new system that they're implementing on the fly, and you're going to take some lumps sometimes.
Raider Joaquin says Keon should start Malik off the bench. Keon sets the defensive tone. Malik is a spark off the bench. They would be most efficient in these roles. And Nurko says Malik Monk, not a true point guard. I feel like he commits a lot of turnovers, makes bad decisions. He's best when he's playing off the ball.
I'll say this about Keon starting. Go back to the games before Malik got hurt. The Kings defense was on point those first few games. And so I'm not going to overreact to a good, gritty New York Knicks team that have been licking their wounds after 3 straight losses. Now, if this becomes a trend, Warriors come out, Phoenix comes out, then it's like, all right, we got to make some adjustments, especially this late in the season. But I'm not going to, because hold up now. the games when Malik played right after the All-Star break, Warriors, nobody played well in that game. But the Kings defense was humming ever since that point. And so I don't think it's just a Malik problem or a Keon solving it. I just think, last night we ran into a buzzsaw. Let's see what happens come Thursday.
I think we're going to see what we've been seeing all the way through here, which is Malik starting, and then Doug did it again last night. Keon came in just about 4 minutes in. It was
right,
a little
the quick,
more.
Yeah, he's been doing that, right?
Yeah, 7:47 left, something like that. I think that's what he's going to do. By the way, last night Malik had 2 turnovers in about 30 minutes. Zach LaVine had 5 turnovers last night. Zach struggled with the handle. 2 turnovers for one player isn't necessarily a lot. The Kings just had too many guys who had 2 turnovers, and it ended up with a team 18 turnovers, which is a killer.
It's a kid, but we turned them over 16 times.
Yeah.
So for 25 points.
Yeah.
They turned us over 18 for 24. So that was pretty even. And so it just, I don't know about you. Watching the game, it felt like we turned it over way more than they did. Like, it felt like they got deflections and steals. How many steals? They had 13 steals. Steals are live ball turnovers, Whitey. That leads to the fast break points that Doug was talking about, 26. Their turnovers were more dead ball turnovers. I don't know. It was just bad last night.
The Knicks don't really play at pace much, but last night they knew that it was to their advantage to do so, to their benefit.
Yeah. What about their 3-point shooting last night?
I thought it was pretty good, Drapes. I thought it was spot on.
I looked at some of the numbers, man. Knicks shoot a good percentage, relative. Like, I think they're 12th, I think, in 3-point percentage. But they're 22nd in attempts, I think it is. Last night, they were putting them up like the Celtics out there.
Yeah.
Like 22 threes made for these guys? That's unheard of. Come on, man.
Campaign was just like almost with his eye. He only shot 3, but he made 2 of them.
Right.
So I was like, watch this, guys.
Yeah, it was bad.
I want to ask you about the foul call. I think they called the foul on Keon when I believe it was McBride.
What happened?
Might have been Hart, but he was driving in the backcourt, and it looked like he actually stuck his arm out, the offensive player, and kind of hit Keon in a place where you should not hit anyone, and they called the foul on Keon.
I remember that.
And they reviewed it.
I could talk to you about girth.
Yeah, and then so Doug's like, yeah, we're going to look at that. And after they looked at it, they said, oh, yeah, the call is upheld.
Yeah.
That was one of the strangest calls I've ever seen. It didn't really matter in the context of the game, but it was strange.
Well, that was a weird sequence, too, because what had happened? Did the Kings turn it over or something? Something happened in the corner, from my vantage point. Keon and McBride were right there. Something happened in there. I think DeMar went down or somebody went down.
Might have been after DeMar got the tech?
Maybe.
Somewhere around
Yeah, because I think that might have been, part of the same same issue. And so I don't get me started on the officials, Whitey, because, I do feel like, and I'm not blaming it at all, there have been some questionable calls over this last week. And I feel like Keon's not getting a good whistle as of late, and I know he's not a star player or anything, but damn, he was in some foul trouble last night, 4 fouls last night.
Emmadrock says McBride tripped on Keon's foot. He grabbed something to hold on.
Right.
That you shouldn't grab on.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. It was a little stumble there.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. We'll come
right
back. We have Jerry Reynolds today at 4:00. Mike Breen's going to join us.
All right.
Also today at 5:00 hour. When we come back, don't look now, but the Kings schedule is about to get a little bonkers. Next on Sactown Sports.